Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Green Channel. Today, we're diving deep into a region that is a constant flashpoint of global politics, the Horn of Africa and the Red Sea. It's a story of ancient empires, modern ambitions, and a waterway that's absolutely critical to the world economy. So, let's start with the big picture, the Red Sea. Picture this, a narrow strip of water connecting Europe and Asia through the Suez Canal. Nearly 12% of global trade and a huge chunk of the world's oil shipments pass through here every single day. If this route gets disrupted, the global economy feels it almost instantly. That's why it's called a maritime choke point, and why so many powerful nations are intensely focused on what happens here. Now, let's zoom in on one of the key players, Ethiopia. With over 120 million people, it's a regional giant, but it has one major vulnerability: it's landlocked. This wasn't always the case. Before 1993, Ethiopia had a long coastline along the Red Sea. But then, Eritrea fought for and won its independence, taking that entire coastline with it. Suddenly, a massive, fast-growing nation lost its direct access to the sea. Ever since, securing reliable and affordable port access has been Ethiopia's #1 strategic obsession. They've relied heavily on the port of Djibouti. But this dependence is costly and precarious. This single geographical fact is a driving force behind so much of the region's tension and diplomacy. And speaking of Djibouti, this tiny nation has turned its strategic location into its greatest asset. It's like the world's most crowded military base. The United States has its only permanent base in Africa here. Camp Lemonnier, China built its very first overseas military base right next door. France, Japan, Italy, they're all here too. Why? Because from Djibouti, you can project power and monitor everything happening in the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aden, and deep into Africa and the Middle East. This has made Djibouti a hub of international intrigue. Where global rivals operate in incredibly close quarters, it's a delicate balancing act for Djibouti, juggling these powers while trying to maintain its own stability. Let's move next door to Eritrea, often called the North Korea of Africa for its isolation and authoritarian rule. After its bitter war of independence from Ethiopia, the two countries remained enemies for decades, but geopolitics makes for strange bedfellows. Recently, we've seen a surprising thaw in relations. Eritrea, seeing an opportunity to counter its isolation and gain influence, has become an active player. It has leased its ports and islands to countries like the UAE, getting involved in the conflict in Yemen and playing a complex role in the broader Gulf rivalries between Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Qatar. Eritrea is no longer just a hermit state, it's a strategic mover, leveraging its coastline to punch well above its weight in regional power plays. This brings us to the rising tensions that define the region today. You have Ethiopia, desperate for a port. Beyond the Red Sea, Ethiopia's water projects are also stirring regional tensions. You have Egypt and Sudan, the two countries downstream on the Nile River, closely watching the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, or GERD. From Ethiopia's perspective, the GERD is far more than just an infrastructure project. It is a powerful symbol of national pride and self-determination. The dam is projected to generate over 6,000 megawatts of hydroelectric power, enough to supply electricity to millions of households and industries across the country. A game-changer in a nation where more than 60% of the population still lacks reliable electricity. You have the Gulf states Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Qatar exporting their rivalries into the Horn, backing different factions and leaders to secure their own food and maritime security. It's a complex web of alliances and proxy conflicts. When Ethiopia and Eritrea reconciled, it shifted the regional balance. When civil war broke out in Ethiopia's Tigray region, Eritrea got involved. Every local dispute has the potential to draw in powerful outside patrons, escalating tensions and making lasting peace incredibly difficult to achieve. This instability directly threatens the flow of trade through the Red Sea, and if that wasn't complicated enough, enter the Houthis in Yemen. Operating from across the Red Sea, their attacks on commercial shipping have sent shockwaves through the global supply chain. In response, international naval task forces, led by the US and European powers, have been deployed to protect these vital sea lanes. This has effectively turned the Red Sea into a militarized zone. You have state navies, proxy groups, and private shipping companies all navigating a high-stakes environment. It highlights just how vulnerable this choke point is and how quickly a regional conflict can have worldwide consequences, affecting the price and availability of goods on shelves thousands of miles away. So, what does the future hold? Is the region doomed to perpetual conflict? Not necessarily. There are glimmers of hope. Regional bodies like IGAD, the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, are trying to mediate disputes. The African Union is also stepping up, advocating for African solutions to African problems. The idea is to build a regional security and economic framework that reduces reliance on outside powers. Imagine a future where Ethiopia, Eritrea, Somalia, and Djibouti cooperate on port development and trade, creating shared prosperity that makes conflict less likely. It's a long shot, given the deep-seated rivalries, but it's a vision that many are working towards. The stability of the Horn of Africa isn't just a regional issue, it's a global necessity. True, lasting peace will only come when the nations of the Horn see more benefit in cooperating with each other than in competing for the favor of external powers. The story of the Red Sea and the Horn of Africa is far from over. This is a dynamic, ever-changing geopolitical chess game where every move, from port investments to naval deployments, can have global repercussions. At the center of this strategic puzzle is Ethiopia. Despite being landlocked since Eritrea's independence, Ethiopia is asserting its influence through diplomacy, infrastructure, and strategic partnerships by seeking access to ports like Assab and developing regional trade corridors. Ethiopia is positioning itself as a key player in both regional security and economic growth. But Ethiopia is not alone in shaping this complex theater. Djibouti, Eritrea, Sudan, Egypt, and Somalia all have stakes in the Red Sea, while global powers like the US, China, and Gulf states view the region as a vital maritime and economic corridor. Ultimately, the Horn of Africa and the Red Sea remain a stage where regional ambitions, global strategies, and local survival interests collide. How Ethiopia and its neighbors navigate this balance will play a decisive role in shaping the peace, security, and prosperity of one of the world's most strategic regions. Understanding these dynamics is key to understanding a big piece of our interconnected world, because what happens in the Red Sea doesn't stay in the Red Sea. The shipping routes that pass through it carry the fuel that powers economies, the goods that fill markets, and the data cables that connect continents. Any instability here sends ripples through global trade, energy prices, and even political alliances. The Red Sea is not a distant issue, it's a reflection of how local conflicts, regional ambitions, and global interests are woven together in today's world. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this analysis interesting, please hit that like button. Subscribe to the Green channel and ring the bell so you don't miss our next deep dive. What do you think is the most critical factor for peace in the region? Let me know in the comments below. See you next time.